to say it's time to move the flag from the Capitol grounds.
And if I thought the Confederate flag was a symbol of racism or somehow linked to slavery, I'd be the first one. I'd agree with Nikki Haley. But I don't think it is. I think it symbolizes mostly states' rights.
Even though President Obama said the racist-linked emblem should be consigned to history and a museum.
Yes, it represents my ancestors who died defending our lands from an invader.
When the children get in high school, they can say, I was there to see history being made.
The Civil War occurred between the years 1861 and 1865 under the presidency of Abraham Lincoln. The Civil War was fought over differing ideologies of the northern and southern states. The issues began in the early 1800s. Northern states grew economically and became the center of wealth and manufacturing. The southern states continued to live in a very agriculturally based economy and could not compete with the northern states, and consequently became economically inferior. Political tensions grew during this time of growth. As the North became more wealthy, the population size grew as well. As a result, the North wanted a federal government that had more power than the states, while the South wanted the federal government to be weaker than the states. The North also pushed for the abolishment of slavery. The South did not agree, as they depended on slavery to be able to run large plantations and farms in a cheap manner. Despite attempts to appease the tensions, such as the Compromise of 1820 and 1850 to balance the number of free and slave states, the South continued to be angered by not being the majority in the House of Representatives. Slavery was a huge issue during this era and is ultimately considered one of the main reasons the Civil War sparked. Slavery was established in the early 17th century in the United States as a method of cheap labor to a new nation. It is estimated that 6 to 7 million Africans were imported in the 18th century alone to work on plantations with crops such as cotton, indigo, and tobacco. The conditions were typically horrendous. The child mortality rate for black slaves doubled the rate for whites, and are afflicted by numerous health issues such as blindness and infectious diseases like dysentery. The slaves were tortured as well. They were fed minimally, treated like animals, and overworked. This terrible treatment of slaves was central to the growing tension between the North and South. When Lincoln was elected as president, the South felt threatened that slavery would be abolished, and he seceded soon after. The iconic flag soon arose after the start of the Civil War. There are 3 national Confederate flags and 1 war flag. The Confederate battle flag is the one used as a symbol of the controversy today. While the meaning of the Confederate flag has been long debated, it wasn't until this year when the controversy of the flag came into the national spectrum. On the evening of June 17, 2015, Dylan Roof went into the Emmanuel African Methodist Church, a historic black church, and shot and killed 9 individuals. Online, the shooter frequently made racist remarks and posed with the Confederate flag. The association with Dylan Roof and the Confederate flag made by the media resulted in a mass movement to take down the Confederate flag in South Carolina. Protests in South Carolina arose regarding the conflict and action of social media, prompted the hashtag #TakeDownTheFlag. In response, Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina had the flag removed from the Capitol and had the controversial flag placed into a museum. For some, this is seen as a small victory since there are still many flags and minds to change. Others see this as a minor setback of our country. People who support the Confederate flag, most often from one of the southern states or raised by southern parents in another region, argue that the flag itself is not a symbol of racism, and that the issue is instead that some people associate it with racism, slavery, segregation, or white supremacy. Supporters also argue that these associations are invalid, as the Confederate flag flown today was a battle flag during the Civil War, and as such it represents the fight for states' rights and the pride of the South. Flag supporters often believe that the South should be proud of its heritage, and that the Confederacy was right to secede.
I grew up to believe the flag was not racist like others seem to make it. I learned this information between school and family. I don't like how people label an inanimate object racist. Obviously, the flag didn't say or do anything to you because it's a piece of fabric. Get a grip. It's no different than someone flying an older version of the American flag. It's just a flag. Calm down.
The First Amendment is also cited by many, saying that displaying the Confederate flag cannot be legally restricted, as that would violate the freedom of expression protected in the amendment.
I am for the Confederate flag. And the reason why I'm for the flag is because it symbolizes a horrific time and something that we should never do again. So symbols can be good and they can be bad, but a symbol is a representation. And in this case, it's a representation of a horrible time. Therefore, instead of flying it in the open marketplace, because the purpose of the flag was to divide our country, and as well as to continue in slavery of African and African American people. And so thereby, it should be in a museum. Right? I mean, what do you mean by Southern pride? Southern, you're from the South, you eat peaches, you grow sugar cane. There's nothing wrong with having pride from wherever culture you're raised in, wherever city or country you come from. It's good to have pride. But is that pride encompassed with hate? And if that pride is encompassed with hate, then in this country we call that white supremacy.
Many people are against the Confederate flag due to its tie to the Civil War. Opposers believe that the war was fought largely about the right to keep black slaves. Slavery is one of the worst violations of human rights in American history, and to keep a symbol so closely related to a fight to keep slaves is a hateful reminder of a disgraced time in U.S. history. Because of this association with slavery, people feel that the flag represents racist ideals and white supremacy. To keep the flag anywhere besides a museum shows that America is not shameful of the horrors that were once inflicted on Black Americans.
I'm against it. I think that it's just inconsiderate and can be interpreted as very, very ignorant. But I think that there are those that believe that it stands for states' rights, but I don't think that they're fully considering the history of that version of states' rights. It was a symbol of a group of states that was fighting against the values of America, and if you pull out the freedom of speech card, you're kind of siding with America, but saying that you're not siding with America. So it's illogical to use the freedom of speech for that argument.
Out of an era of profound racial discrimination and hate, the Confederate flag arose. Due to this, the meaning of the flag is obscured. Some connect it to states' rights and Southern culture, while others see it as a symbol of racism and a division of a nation. The controversy of the Confederate flag has no simple solution. People will continue to support and oppose the flag until there is common consensus about the meaning of the flag or until federal actions are taken.